Priyam Priyakaram Nirmatsaro Pujitam
Good morning. Hare Krishna. All glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, the Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. All glories to the assembled devotees who are attending these classes on a regular basis. Is with your support that we're able to continue on with our mission to reestablish Prabhupada at the center of the Hare Krishna movement. This show is a show sponsored by the Prabhupada Disciples Association in cooperation with the Hare Krishna Society, which was established in 2002 as a charitable organization in America by Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu and his colleagues at the time. And we're continuing on to develop this organization for establishing the Prabhupada mission according to his instructions. It's a very serious movement that we have, and a very important movement for helping to save the world from going completely to the lower planets with its behavior that's now become popular. We're fighting against the Kali Yuga and all of its problems and difficulties. So at the end of the class, we will introduce to you some of the new programs that we've been developing for our mission with the our media team that meets once a week, along with the 3 classes, and give you some insights on how we're expanding our work online and on the ground. We're both aspects of preaching are going to be developed by the Hare Krishna Society for the benefit of everyone. We're back to the reading of the Jaladutta Diary, which has been just wonderful to see how Prabhupada was so focused on the instructions of his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami, to set example for us how we should be. Prabhupada taught by example, not by precept. So his life, his actions, and his work that he did, the success that he had, was all because of his focus on the instructions of his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. So following in those footsteps, we are carrying on the mission of the Hare Krishna Society based on his example. So Prabhupada taught us by example, and we are also working towards that same level of behavior and responsibility. This is not some kind of, social club. This is much different. And these classes, by the way, I just wanted to mention, we have discussed this at our Prabhupada Disciples Media Team meeting. These classes are really meant for people that are more advanced into the process of Krishna consciousness, who are familiar with the books, who are familiar with the process, and they want to get more insight on exactly how to conduct themselves carrying on with the preaching. We will be introducing new classes coming up for people that are fresh into the philosophy and want to learn the basics of this philosophy so that they can make advancement in spiritual life, and then hopefully join us in these classes as we move along progressively in our mission. Yes, mission to spread Krishna consciousness and keep Prabhupada at the center of it. This is the letter to Sumati Maharaj, who gave Srila Prabhupada free passage to New York on the Jala-dutta. And I mentioned earlier, I did have a private darshan with her when I was in Bombay in 1975. She invited me to her mansion on Juhu Beach, and it was very interesting to meet her personally and have her interrogate me, asking me all kinds of questions on how I understood Krishna consciousness according to our spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. New York, 27th of October, 1965. Madame Sumati Maharaj Vaishabheba, please accept my greetings. I'm very glad to acknowledge receipt of your letter dated the 9th instant and have noted the contents. Since I have landed in USA, I have improved in my health, and I'm very glad to see that in America, practically everything is available from our Indian vegetarian dishes. By the grace of Lord Krishna, the American are prosperous in every respect, and they are not poverty-stricken like the Indians. The people in general are satisfied so far the material needs are concerned, and they are spiritually inclined. When I was in Butler, Pennsylvania, about 500 miles from New York City, I saw that many churches, and they were attending regularly. This shows that they are spiritually inclined. True. I was also invited by some churches, church-governed schools and colleges, and I spoke there, and they appreciated and presented me some token rewards. While I was speaking to the students, they were very much eagerly hearing me about the principles of Srimad Bhagavatam, rather than the clergymen were cautious to allow the students to hear me so patiently. They thought that the students may not be converted into Hindu ideas, and it is quite natural for any religious sect. But they did not know that the devotional service of the Lord Sri Krishna is the common religion for everyone, including the Aborigines and the cannibals in the jungle. Anyway, so far I have studied the American people. They're very much eager to learn about the Indian way self-realization. And there are so many called yoga ashrams in America. Unfortunately, they are not very much adored by the government. And it is heard that such yoga ashrams have exploited the innocent people, as it has been the case in India also. The only hope is that they are spiritually inclined, and immense benefit can be done to them if the cult of Srimad Bhagavatam is preached here. Cult means group of people with a set of beliefs, same set of beliefs, not some kind of nefarious group. The American public also give reception to the Indian art and music. So many of them come, and every one of them is given good reception. Recently, one dancer from Madras came here, Bala Saraswati, and just to see the mode of reception. I went to see the dance with a friend, although for the last 40 years, I've never attended such dance ceremony. These dances go on at all the ISKCON Rath Yatra programs. The dancer was successful in her demonstration. The music was in Indian classical tune, mostly in Sanskrit language, and the American public appreciated them. So I was encouraged to see the favorable circumstances about my future preaching work. The Bhagavad cult is preached also through the art of music and dance, as it was done by Lord Chaitanya. I'm just thinking of introducing the very same system for my Bhagavatam preaching, but I have no means. The Christian missionary people are backed by huge resources, and they preach the Christian cult all over the world. Similarly, the devotees of Lord Krishna may also combine together to start the mission of preaching Bhagavatam cult all over the world. It is not for serving any political purpose, but it is necessary to preach cult for saving the people in general from the dangerous tendency of godlessness. The Christian cult or any other cult cannot save people from being under the clutches of the growing communism, but the Bhagavatam cult can save them because of its philosophical and scientific approach. I am therefore thinking of bringing a Sankirtan party from India, but I do not know how to do it. Unless there is an organized party or association, it is very difficult to do it. Eventually, Prabhupada formed his own Sankirtan party with the devotees he cultivated in his preaching work from the Matchless Gifts store front in New York City. The Ram Krishna mission here is busy in preaching a misrepresentation, and therefore practically they have failed to preach the real cult of India. The so-called yogis also could not establish the real cult of Bhagavad-gītā. They are after material gains. The Bhagavad cult is not there at all, although it is the only remedy for raising the people in the world in the path of self-realization and spiritual salvation. I do not know what is in the mind of Lord Bala Krishna, but I think that your attention to give an impetus to the Bhagavad cult and my humble attempt can serve great purpose. So Prabhupada is preaching very strongly to Sumati Maharaji here to try to win her over to do more service, being a very rich lady. By the grace of the Lord, you have a great position in the world. And it is learnt that you are one of the richest women in the world. But above all, you are a pious lady with great devotion for Lord Balakrishna, and you can do a lot in this connection. Yes, by the grace of Lord Balakrishna, you are also free from all family encumbrances, and I have seen you in your Pomban house. You live like a sage and a tapaswini. I wish that you may take up the idea of Bhagavatam preaching work a little more seriously. What I want that immediately a society for this purpose must be formed, and that we will be recognized by the government for cultural activity. So many cultural missions come here from India at the expense of government, and they simply waste the money. But if there is a real cultural mission for preaching the Bhagavatam cult, a great philanthropic work will be done for the human society at large. I'm just giving you the idea. And if you kindly think over the matter seriously and consult your beloved Lord Bala Krishna, surely you will be enlightened in the matter. There is scope and there is necessity also, and it is the duty of every Indian, especially the devotees of Lord Krishna, to take up this matter. Powerful letter. I am glad to hear from you about my humble suggestions per return mail. Hope you were well. With all best regards, I am yours sincerely, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Note further, I'm very glad to note the last line of your letter under reply, in which you write to say, I feel that if you should stay there till you fully recover from your illness and return only after you've completed your mission. Yes, I wish to stay here for all the days till I have finished the mission of life to preach a Bhagavad cult very rightly. And for this reason only, I have suggested the above ways and means. If you kindly cooperate in forming a society for this purpose with your great influence, surely all Indians will combine, and thus we can fulfill the mission very nicely, declaring the glories of India. Please do it for the Lord's sake. So very deep preaching for all of us to understand is he's also preaching to all of us. So Vengat, please, let's bring forward the Jayarada Madhava prayers chanted by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, as was his habit at every class. Please chant along. And then after that, we'll enter into the Srimad Bhagavatam reading and discussion led by His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Swa Paramahansa Parivrajaga-ācārya Sthitare Small Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki Jai, Nāma-ācārya Sri Haridas Thakur ki Jai, Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakti ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Bhog Gopinath Sam Khund Radha Khund Giridhar ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham ki Jai, Navadvip Dham ki Jai, Ganga Mai की जाए, जमुना माई की जाए, गुरु द्वारका धाम की जाए, स्वामी तो भक्तविंद की जाए, ऑल ग्लोरी टू देयर समिट, ऑल ग्लोरी टू देयर समिट। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
ओम अज्ञानातिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगुणा रघुनाथन् अन्वितं तं सजीवं सद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादं सहगुणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कन्ठ राधा कन्ठ नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदम। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Welcome everyone to this class and discussion on the Bhagavad-gītā As It Is. We are reading from the original 1972 non-edited, non-adulterated version, the 1972 Macmillan edition. We are reading from chapter 8, text number 1, all synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement, page 409, text number 1. Arjuna uvacha kim tad brahma kim adhyatmam kim karma purushottama adhibhutam cha kim proktam Adidevam kimuchyati. Arjuna uvacha. Arjuna said, Kim, what? Tat, that. Brahma, Brahman. Kim, what? Adhyatmam, the self. Kim, what? Karma, fruitive activities. Purushottama, O Supreme Person. Adibhutam, the material manifestation. Cha, and. Kim, what? Proktam is called. Adidevam, the demigods. Kim what Uchyate is called. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Arjuna inquired, O my Lord, O Supreme Person, what is Brahman? What is the Self? What are fruitive activities? What is this material manifestation? And what are the demigod? Please explain this to me. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In this chapter, Lord Krishna answers these different questions of Arjuna, beginning with, what is Brahman? The Lord also explains karma, fruitive activities, devotional service, and yoga principles, and devotional service in its pure form. The Srimad Bhagavatam explains that the supreme absolute truth is known as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. In addition, the living entity, individual soul, is also called Brahman. Arjuna also inquires about Atma, which refers to body, soul, and mind. According to the Vedic dictionary, Atma refers to the mind, soul, body, and senses also. Arjuna has addressed the Supreme Lord as Purushottama, Supreme Person, which means that he was putting these questions not simply to a friend, but to the Supreme Person, knowing him to be the supreme authority, able to give definitive answers. Text number 2. Adiyagnaha katam kotra desmin madhusudana prayana kale chakatam Nyeyosi niyatatmabihi adiyagnaha, the Lord of sacrifice. Katam, how? Ka, who? Atra, here. Dehe, in the body. Asmin, in this. Madhusudana, O Madhusudana. Prayana kale, at the time of death. Cha, and. Katam, how. Nyayaha, be known. Asi, you can. Niyata atmabhihi, by the self-controlled. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. How does this Lord of sacrifice live in the body? And in which part does he live, O Madhusudana? And how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The Lord of sacrifice accepts Indra and Vishnu. Vishnu is the chief of the primal demigods, including Brahma and Shiva. And Indra is the chief of the administrative demigods. Both Indra and Vishnu are worshipped by yajna performances. But here, Arjuna asks who is actually the Lord of yajna, sacrifice, and how is the Lord residing within the body of the living entity. Arjuna addresses the Lord as Madhusudana because Krishna once killed a demon named Madhu. Actually, these questions, which are of the nature of doubts, should not have arisen in the mind of Arjuna, because Arjuna is a Krishna conscious devotee. Therefore, these doubts are like demons. Since Krishna is so expert in killing demons, Arjuna here addresses him as Madhusudana, so that Krishna might kill the demonic doubts that arise in Arjuna's mind. Now the word prayanakali in this verse is very significant because whatever we do in life will be tested at the time of death. Arjuna fears that at the time of death, those who are in Krishna consciousness will forget the Supreme Lord because at such a time body functions are disrupted and the mind may be in a panic-stricken state. Therefore, Maharaj Kulashekara, a great devotee, prays, "My dear Lord, may I die immediately now that I am healthy, so that the swan of my mind may enter into the stem of thy lotus feet." This metaphor is used because the swan often takes pleasure in entering the stem of the lotus flower. Similarly, the mind of the pure devotee is drawn to the lotus feet of the Lord. Maharaj Kulashekar fears that at the time of death, his throat will be so choked up that he will not be able to chant the holy names. So it is better to die immediately. Arjuna questions how one's mind can remain fixed on Krishna's lotus feet at such times. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Namaom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Bhagavad-vandanam khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatihi Visheshatah Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Rup Sanatana Bhattara Gunata Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunatha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I offer my respectful obeisances. We all offer our respectful obeisances unto our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, who has opened my eyes, who has opened our eyes from the darkness of ignorance with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. Here we are seeing that Lord Krishna is advising Arjuna in a new chapter, chapter number 8. Previously in chapter 7, we've discussed many issues: the unique position of the personality of Godhead Lord Krishna, the rareness of pure devotees, the position of various demigods, the position of various persons who surrender to Krishna, who engage in the service of Krishna, and the positions of also various individuals who never accept Krishna, never surrender to Krishna, and numerous other topics. We are very fortunate, actually, that when we read Bhagavad-gītā, the text of the text here that we're studying, this is the Shastra, the scriptural instruction. The purports, the technical purport, is called the Bhashya. Bhashya means purport or explanation. Sometimes in Sanskrit it's also called Tika, various notes. And this is how we understand the meaning of the Shastra, with the explanation and the purports kindly given by the great acharyas like Srila Prabhupada and other previous acharyas as well. Here we have a very important inquiry from Arjuna. He's bringing up very important point. Now, in the text number 2, Prabhupada is raising the issue that these various questions, actually these questions which are of the nature of doubts, should not have arisen in the mind of Arjuna, because Arjuna is a Krishna conscious devotee. Therefore, these doubts are like demons. So Krishna is very kindly starting his explanation here to Arjuna, and basically Arjuna is inquiring, O Madhusudana, O killer of the demon Madhu, what is the answer to all these topics? Now, naturally, if somebody is interested in spiritual life, these questions will come up. What is Brahman? What is the supreme truth? What are fruitive activities? What is karma? What is this material world that we're living in? What are the demigods? Of course, in Western civilizations or in the Western world and anything beyond India, except for Southeast Asia, demigods is something that is not understood properly. Many people have the wrong idea or the mistaken idea that in India they worship many gods. Well, I've got news for them. There is no such thing as many gods. There's only one God, one supreme personality of Godhead. What they're referring to unknowingly are the demigods or great personalities who are assistants to Lord Krishna, like Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. These various personalities are assistant to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna or Narayana. Now, people who are less intelligent, the accused followers of Sanatana Dharmas, or sometimes socially called as Hindus, that they worship many gods. There's no such thing as many gods, just like there's no such thing as a Hindu god or a Christian god or a Muslim god or a Jewish god or a Buddhist god. There's no such thing. There's only one God, and according to time, place, and circumstances, there are various manifestations of the personality of God in different countries at different times. This is the power of the personality of God, that he can depute. He can send various powerful incarnations called Shakti Avesha avatars, or great saints, prophets, his son, great acharyas, such as Madhva, Ramanuja, Nimbarka, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, other great acharyas and gurus, to present the message of the personality of Godhead. That is why in the Vedic system, in the Sanatana Dharma system, things are understood properly with the instructions and the purports of the great acharyas. Because some people have the mistaken idea that what is spoken by the great acharyas, that is less important than the Shastra. Well, it's the other way around. There's a purport in the eighth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Prabhupada explains that the instructions of a devotee, a pure devotee, are more important than the instructions of the personality of Godhead. Now, why does he say that? Because we cannot understand the personality of God without the mercy of a pure devotee, of a fully realized, fully cognizant pure devotee. Now, what we have here is a very significant statement by Srila Prabhupada in text number 2. He's quoting Kulashekar Maharaj. King Kulashekar was the king of a portion of Kerala in South India, long time ago, in the beginning of Kali Yuga. And he has written a text called Mukunda Malastotra. Srila Prabhupada started to translate that. He gave some commentary to some verses of it, but it is a very famous poetry and compilation of praises of Lord Krishna and Lord Narayana, and the importance of bhakti, of devotional service to Lord Narayana. And in one of these verses, he's explaining Krishna tvadiya padapankaja panjarantam adyeva me vishatu manasa raja hamsaha prana prayana kale chamanase kantavarodanavido smaranam kutaste, that I want to remember you, my Lord, at the now that my health is still with me, so that I can enter my mind at your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada says, may I die immediately now that I'm healthy, so that the swan of my mind may enter into the stem of thy lotus feet. This is very similar to the wonderful devotional feelings expressed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Shikshastakam. When we study the Shikshastakam, it is quite amazing the depth of the richness of devotional sentiments of Lord Chaitanya. Sometimes some ignorant scholars accuse Chaitanya Mahaprabhu of not being a scholar because he only wrote 8 verses. He did not write a commentary on Bhagavad-gītā. He did not write a commentary on Vedanta Sutra. He did not write a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada explains in one lecture that the 6 Goswamis, all of their writings are the purport of the Shikshastakam. When we consider all the writings of Jiva Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, the total number of verses is approximately 500,000, 500,000 padas in Sanskrit. So it is not that there is no explanation of what the Shikshastakam is. The entire purports, the entire writings of the 6 Goswamis is the purport of the Shikshastakam. This is according to Srila Prabhupada. So it's important when we study Bhagavad-gītā or Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, that we have to be very conscious that every word, at least those that are non-edited, non-adulterated, every word is the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, who has brought this transcendental knowledge so carefully, who has delivered this transcendental mercy so carefully that anyone at any part of the world at any time can preach this message. Just this week, I did not quite realize one devotee on this call, Balaram Prabhu in Turkey. I didn't realize Turkey is a Muslim country where the religion is different, the culture is different. And some way or other, he's through various obstacles and various difficulties, he's very steadfastly engaging in Krishna consciousness, trying to preach the message of Bhagavad-gītā as given by Srila Prabhupada in this country under somewhat difficult circumstances. So we're very appreciative of the very sincere dedication and sincere work that this nice devotee is doing. And I know there's a lot of devotees. Like another devotee in Australia, Shyamasundar Prabhu, what he does for preaching is that he has a stall in some city in Eastern Australia. I don't know exactly the name of the city. I think it's Cairns or something in northeastern Australia, where he cooks samosas, a couple of thousand samosas a week. And some way or other, he distributes prasadam, sells the samosas or takes donations, whatever. And along with that, he distributes some booklets of Srila Prabhupada and little Bhagavad-gītas and different other books. But he's done this for years and years and years. So we're very appreciative of the efforts of all these devotees. Now, I know in Hamilton, Ontario, Vishwakarma Prabhu runs a temple there, and he cooks regular prasadam, distributes prasadam to numerous people. He has regular programs, regular kirtans. He's constantly engaged in preaching. We have different devotees who are this message. When we read this message is very nice. We are hearing it from Prabhupada. But it's not only meant for us. It's really meant for us to hear this message and distribute it. This was the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, especially those who were born in India or born of Indian descent. Prabhupada used to often quote the verse from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Bharat Bhumiti Oil Manusya Janmahar, that if you are born in Bharat Bhumi, the sacred land of India, that engage in this paraupakar. Paraupakar means beneficial activities for the welfare of humankind. And what is the topmost beneficial activity? Simply give the name of Krishna to everyone. In October of 1976, Srila Prabhupada was in Chandigarh, northern India, where one devotee, Chaitanya Das Prabhu, Indian devotee, had organized a very nice program, very well organized, and he had invited various journalists to a big press conference. There was a big pandal, prasadam distribution, book distribution. This was quite impressive, the work he had done. And Srila Prabhupada at one point in the discussion to the various journalists, he's telling them that you should all become spiritual masters, quoting Chaitanya Charitamrita, and learn this science of Bhagavad-gītā as it is, and distribute this. He was very insistent. Now, these people were not initiated devotees. They were not scholars. They were not pandits. They were just regular journalists, and Prabhupada is telling them, you've been born in this country. It's your duty to take this up, take this cultural movement of Lord Chaitanya, take up the message of this transcendental movement and distribute this some way or other. Now, Srila Prabhupada very intelligently devised various methods to engage people. He built various temples, established various centers. And the most important thing is these various books. In the beginning, when Prabhupada started his preaching in New York, they just were distributing small pamphlets. Some of you may have heard of a little pamphlet written by Srila Prabhupada called Who is Crazy? There was another one called The Peace Formula. These were like 1 or 2 pages, very simple, but very potent. Another one was on chanting the Maha Mantra, on chanting Hare Krishna. And there was like 5 or 6 of these little pamphlets. And eventually he basically he got the teachings of Lord Chaitanya in 1968. He had the abridged Bhagavad-gītā, the purple Bhagavad-gītā. And in 1970, 71, he brought the Srimad Bhagavatam, the first canto. So gradually, he brought about his literatures, his purports, his explanations of the science of Krishna. He delivered that for the benefit of all persons, of everybody. So what I will do now is read from a lecture by Srila Prabhupada in Geneva, Switzerland, on June 7th, 1974, June 7th, 1974, where Srila Prabhupada gave a lecture on this same verse that we're studying today. Nitai leads chanting. Translation. Arjuna inquired, O my Lord, O Supreme Person, what is Brahman? What is the self? What are fruitive activities? What is this material manifestation? What are the demigods? Please explain this to me. Prabhupada, Arjuna Vacha, Kim tad Brahma kim adhyatmam kim karma purushottamam adhibhutam cha kim proktam adidevam kim uchyate. These are the subject matter of knowledge. Kim Brahma. Brahman means the biggest. Briyanatvat, Briyatvat, biggest. It is already biggest, but still increasing. That is called Brahman. So this cosmic manifestation, universe, it is already the biggest, but it is increasing. That is also scientific, modern science. The statement is already scientific. Modern science also, they say that the universe is increasing. So Brahman means the biggest. So our Vaishnava philosophy, biggest means Krishna, because he's the richest, is the strongest, is the wisest, is the most beautiful. In this way, is the biggest. We also calculate if anyone is very rich, we consider he is the biggest man in the society. But nobody can hold all the riches of the world. Krishna can hold. Krishna has got all the riches of the world. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Krishna says, I am the Maheshwaram, the supreme owner of all the planets. So actually, Krishna is Param Brahman. He's not only Brahman, but Param Brahman. That is accepted. Kim Adhyatmam, Atma. Atma means this body. Atma means this self. Atma means the mind. But Arjuna is asking, what is the real meaning of Atma? Atma means the soul. You are also Atma. I am also Atma. Every one of us, the minute particle, part and parcel of Krishna, Kim Karma. This karma means to work. That is material. Working is required in the material world. Without working, you cannot get anything. Here you have to maintain your body and soul together. Therefore, you have to work. So work can be divided in different ways, but one has to work. One may work as a Brahmana. One may work as a Kshatriya. One may work as a Vaishya or a Shudra. So work is there without working. The just opposite, without working, without any endeavor, you can live eternally. That is Vaikuntha Loka. Vaikuntha means without any anxiety. Here we are full of anxieties. Purushottama. Arjuna addressed Krishna as Purushottama, Uttama Purusha. There are three kinds of Purushas. Purusha means the male or the enjoyer. So Uttama Purusha, Madhyama Purusha, Adhama Purusha. Adhama means the lowest. We are also Purusha. At least we have taken the position of Purusha to enjoy this material world. But we are Adhama Purusha. Adhama means the lowest. We cannot enjoy independently. We require so many favorable circumstances. Just like we cannot see without the sunrise. Still, we are very much proud of seeing. We say, can you show me God? Well, can you see God? You cannot see without sunshine. And still you are so much proud of your eyes. That is called Adhama. He has no knowledge, still he's taking PhD degree and getting Nobel Prize. This is going on. So Krishna is the Purushottama, Uttama Purusha. The Madhyama Purusha is the super soul. Via media between Krishna and we are Adhama Purusha. So Krishna is addressed as Purusha, Uttama Purusha. The best of all Purushas are enjoyers. Adhibhutam, the matter, 5 elements of matter. Kim Proktam, which of them are called the Brahman Atma? Everything Krishna, Arjuna wanted to know from Krishna. Krishna, he has accepted Krishna as the spiritual master, and spiritual master means the authority. Unless you accept somebody as quite fit for becoming your authority, he cannot become a spiritual master. You must be satisfied by the authoritative statement of the spiritual master. You cannot argue. That is the principle of authority. Adidaivam, the demigods. The demigods, they are controlling the universal affairs. Just like for rain, water supply. Indra Deva, the demigod known as Indra, is in charge. For heat and light, the demigod Surya Deva, he is in charge. Similarly, the moon, Chandra Deva, they are all devas, demigods. He is in charge of what is called activating the vegetables. The moon activating the vegetables. In this way, all these demigods have got different power, invested upon them by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are agents. They are called demigods, Indra, Chandra. There are 33 crores of demigods, and they are controlling our activities also. The astronomy means the astral influence upon us. And according to the astral influence, we act. Therefore, horoscope is made. At the time of birth, a person's situation according to different astral influence, and then the astrology science can make his horoscope, his future activities, his future hopes. Everything is done, adibhutam. So we'll stop there, and Vishwakarma Prabhu can comment. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for that excellent class on Bhagavad-gītā this morning for everyone's benefit. And I wanted to move forward, continue with your discussion in line with the verse this morning, which is the initial verse is about questions inquired from by Arjuna. "O my Lord, what is Brahman? What is the self? What are fruit of activities? What is this material manifestation, and what are the demigods? Please explain this to me." So in this chapter, Lord Krishna answers these different questions of Arjuna, beginning with what is Brahman. So everybody has so many questions, and they're looking for answers. In the modern society here, it is called prajalpa, useless conversation. And this is the business of the materialistic man, asking stupid questions and getting foolish answers. So I wanted, if we could go to the Srimad Bhagavatam Vinkat, the first canto, second chapter.
Okay.
Excuse me here, let me see here. Text number 5. First canto, text number 5. Chapter 2, excuse me. Again, here we're dealing with the issue of questions and answers, and this was the situation at the bank of the Ganges River with the sages of Naimisharanya. "Oh, the sages, I have been justly questioned by you. It is relevant because this is public welfare in the question as they are in relation with Krishna. And this sort of questions only can please the self completely." So Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 2, text 5, purport. As it is stated therein before, that in the Bhagavatam, the absolute truth is to be known, so the questions of the sages in the Naimisharanya are proper and just because they are made in relation with Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, absolute truth. In the Bhagavad-gītā, the Personality of Godhead says that in all the Vedas, there's nothing but an urge for searching Him, Lord Krishna. As such, the questions in relation with Krishna is the sum and substance of all the Vedic inquiries. The whole world is full of questions and answers. The birds or beasts are all, or the man are all busy in the matter of perpetual questions and answers. In the morning, the bird is in the nest, become busy with questions and answers. In the evening, also, some same birds come back and again become busy with questions and answers. Prabhupada goes, "What is the bird chirping? Where is sex? Where is food?" The human being, unless he is fast asleep at night, he is busy with questions and answers. The businessman on the marketplace is busy with questions and answers, and so also the lawyers in the court and the students in the schools and colleges. The legislators in the parliament are also busy with questions and answers, and the politicians or the press representatives are all busy with questions and answers. But they go on making such questions and answers for the whole life, and they still are not at all satisfied. Satisfaction of the soul can only be obtained by questions and answers on the subject of Krishna. Krishna is our most intimate master, friend, father, or son, an object of conjugal love. Forgetting Krishna, we have created so many objects of questions and answers, but none of them are able to give us complete satisfaction. Anything except Krishna can give us temporary satisfaction only. And if we have to have complete satisfaction, we must take to the questions and answers about Krishna. We cannot live for a moment without being questioned or without giving answers. Because the Srimad Bhagavatam deals in questions and answers in relation with Krishna, we can derive the highest satisfaction only by reading and hearing this transcendental literature, learn the Srimad Bhagavatam, and make an all-around solution of the problems regarding social, political, or religious matters. Srimad Bhagavatam and Krishna is the sum total of all things. So this is a very profound topic that we must enter into understanding about questions and answers. And, you know, I personally enjoy so much the association of other devotees. Throughout the week, we spend our time speaking to people constantly. I'm always taking the association of my dear godbrother Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, because he's filled with transcendental nectar of Prabhupada's mission from his personal association. So we have to constantly seek out good association. Ask questions, get good answers. Like in these classes, you may ask questions and you will get good answers. And then we can carry on with this mission of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, could you please comment?
I think it's important to remember one thing, because Prabhupada has given these various literatures and taught by practical examples how to practice. All of these various projects and various rules and regulations and everything that he has introduced, this is the authorized way of practicing and preaching Krishna consciousness in the modern age. In other words, what was done hundreds of years ago or thousands of years ago in India, or it may not be completely practical now. That's why we have acharyas that come to deliver the message, to show by example how to practice what is in these sacred books, what is in this Bhagavad-gītā, Srimad Bhagavatam, and other scriptures. So because there are sometimes discussions amongst different devotees whether or not different various ceremonies or rituals should be introduced. So the question is brought up by various devotees, new and young or old devotees. Did Srila Prabhupada introduce such ceremonies or such rituals? What may be practical in one place in the world may not be completely practical in another place in the world. For example, there's one conversation when Prabhupada was discussing about preaching in the Middle East. And I remember this discussion. Prabhupada said, you don't necessarily have to have the deity. You can have a picture, but the chanting must be there. You can have chanting and prasadam distribution, that is sufficient. So that is a very fundamental application by Srila Prabhupada according to time, place, and circumstances. Whereas some other parts of the world, for example, in South India or parts of India, where there is more cultural acquaintance or cultural familiarity with deity worship, then more elaborate ceremonies may be there. But then the question always comes, did Srila Prabhupada introduce these things? What Prabhupada did with the deity worship, it was gradually introduced. He did not introduce full-fledged deity worship in 1965-66. It was gradually introduced. As a matter of fact, anybody who is familiar with Chaitanya Charitamrita knows in one purport, Prabhupada is explaining that he has not yet introduced the worship of the Shalagram Shila, and that he would introduce such worship as devotees would become more situated in a Brahminical standard of life. But Prabhupada's whole point, get people to chant Hare Krishna, hear Bhagavad-gītā, Srimad Bhagavatam, then the purification take place, the preaching can take place. I mean, just like Prabhupada one time was in Tehran, in Iran, and Atriya Rishi brought some devotees to be initiated. And I remember reading this conversation, there was no fire sacrifice. Prabhupada made them state what the 4 regulative principles, how many rounds they agreed to chant. He gave them the names. That was the initiation. Of course, that was a special circumstance given the country where they were and the situation where they were. I mean, because preaching in some of these parts of the world might require some adjustment. But one thing we do know, everybody all over the world, they're going to do 2 basic things. They're going to use their tongue to eat, and they're going to use their tongue to vibrate, to speak, to chant, to things like that. So the prasadam can be made, just like what our friend Shyamasundar Prabhu is doing in Australia. It's a wonderful preaching program. It's like the foremost samosa preaching program in the world, where he's distributing prasadam, wonderful samosas, which he's learned to cook very nicely, offered to Prabhupada and Krishna, and is distributing books. So it's not like there's a big mystery. The people are going to eat. Chanting can be there. It's not very complicated. The one point that we repeatedly wanted to say, during Prabhupada's time, there's various songs like Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatume that we would sing in front of Lord Jagannath, Jai Jagannath. The song Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya, that was authorized. And there is a few other songs, minimal songs. But what has happened now is a proliferation of a lot of new mantras, new songs, new this, new that, that I'm still trying to understand where it comes from. I have somebody who is feeding me regular information about these new mantras that are popping up, and I'm scratching my head thinking, where is this? What is this? What are they singing? Who gave this mantra? We know for a fact it's not in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It is not in the Chaitanya Bhagavata. It is not in the Srimad Bhagavatam. We know from Prabhupada's teachings or writings that it's not there. Where did these things come from? Well, we know, anybody who's familiar with the culture and the history of India, especially Gaudiya Vaishnavism, our Sampradaya is very rich with very powerful acharyas. And unfortunately, a lot of time, the Gaudiya Sampradaya is infected with sahajias. So this sahajiya tendency can be very troublesome. They invent new mantras, new ways of worship, new ways of doing things. Just like anybody who's been in Vrindavan, they're familiar with that group. They sing this mantra, Nitai Gaur Radhe Shyam Hare Krishna Hare Ram. Now, Prabhupada in one place says that anybody who chants the name of Gaur Nitai will get some benefit, but it is not the authorized standard given by the acharyas. We keep saying the same thing about the books. Prabhupada is giving you these books. He's not giving anybody the authority to change his words, to change his writings. Leave them as they are. It worked really well when Prabhupada was here. It made thousands of devotees, hundreds of scholars and great authorities praised his books. So some people with this infected brains, this grammatical embellishment disease, thought that we'll make the books better, we'll correct the mistakes, we'll do this, we'll do that. No, just leave it. Just like you could not go to Sri Rangam in South India and make a correction to the Sri Bhashya of Ramanuja and present as the new and revised, the new and improved Sri Bhashya. You'd get kicked out. Same thing if you try to do that in Udupi. The new and improved Bhashya of Madhvacharya by changing some of the Sanskrit. No one is authorized to change the words of the great Acharya. I'll leave it there for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. I wanted to bring up a question that was posed to us, Vinkat, a few weeks ago by a fellow who is working in business. Do you recall that question where he was saying how difficult it is for him to practice Krishna consciousness because of his time being occupied with work? Do you recall that, Vinkat?
I don't recall the exact question. No.
Okay. Anyway, I wanted to bring that up to the group today again, because even if we do, Yaśodā-nandana was speaking about the preaching work that's going on. And if we just even do some small effort, we may be surprised on the result that we get, as long as we make the effort. I want to show you a couple of things here. This was given to me from a Prakrita in Montreal. Now, a Prakrita Prabhu has been a devotee since the 70s, and he is running a website, vedaveda.com, I believe it is. We can put that up hopefully sometime. And he runs regular Sankirtan parties in Montreal, where he gathers up all the local Prabhupada disciples, and they go out for chanting. He gifted me these bookmarks. You can see that. Is that viewable, Vinkat?
Yeah.
So he asked me for the information of what I wanted on the bookmark. Let's see if it's a little closer there. So I took the verse from the Bhagavad-gītā, and he has the Hare Krishna mantra and Hare Krishna Hamilton Center, and then the website that I use for the local work here and our Facebook page, etc. And then on the back, it's the same. So very simple tool. And I give them out to people that come, because we're limited for producing books right now, but at least giving us out. And I had an interesting experience yesterday. I was at the grocery store, and I don't know, somehow or other, I got this idea. I had to go to a retail store called Marshall's, which is a discount store. I thought, oh, go there. I had to pick up an item. And over the years, I've got to know the people at the store as a friend, saying hello and this and that. And I had a talk with the devotee, Goras Prabhu Vinkat. What is the name of that devotee we spoke to yesterday that I spoke to?
I believe it's Gauranga Sundar Prabhu.
Gauranga Sundar. He told me something that affected me, which was that 10 years ago, he's 44 now. So at the age of 34, he decided he was going to devote himself exclusively to spreading Krishna consciousness with Prabhupada as the focal point of his preaching. not any other gurus or any other position. And, you know, I had the same situation that took place in my life about 9 years ago, because I'm not trying to talk about myself, but in my life, I've done many businesses and projects and been the president or CEO of multiple companies and this and that. And it's been one waste of time in a sense for me. And I thought, you know, I've wasted my time in all these startups and businesses. And I think I'm just going to say to myself, Krishna, I want to be your CEO, not the CEO of this juice company or real estate company or this music company or whatever stuff that I was doing. So I also went ahead and made this card. Here it is here. Can you see that, Venkat? Can you see it? No?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I made this card about 7 years ago. I just thought, here, because everybody asks you for a card still, even though there's the internet. So I made this card up. Instead of Bobby Hebert, this guy and that guy, I made this card up as my identity, a business card. And on the back, I put this. Can you see this, Venkat? Yeah. For relief of all material distress, please chant Hare Krishna, and put the mantra up. No big deal. I made 200 up at Staples. So instead of giving out some stupid card, you know, of this or that, I thought I've changed my identity. I'm finished. Just like this Prabhu. Very similar. I thought to myself, this is a waste of time, and especially at my age. So there's a lady at the Marshall store that she is a cashier. And she has a cancer on her eye, like I have a cancer on my face. And through Jittarati Prabhu in Hong Kong, who printed the Bhagavatams, he gave me some direction on how to get a medicine to take away the cancer from my face, because I had cancer of the urinary bladder, cancer recently, and I had cancer on my head. So I got this. So she had a cancer on her face. And I talked to her about it and tried to help her as a friend. And then I gave her my card, this card, and on the back, the chanting. So yesterday I went up to the cashier counter. This was about 4 months ago. I just gave her the card. I said, here, contact me if you need information on anything. And on the back is the mantra. And she looked at me when I came up to the register, and she said, you know something, Bob? I was in a lot of distress a few weeks ago, and I had your card, and I took the card and I chanted this mantra because I was in distress. And she said, it relieved me of the distress when I chanted the holy name. Such a small thing, really not a big deal. But if we can just get one person to chant Hare Krishna, then your life will be a success. Just do one person. The way you go ahead in this preaching mission, you start with one. And then after one, you go to two. And after two, you go to three. After three, you go to four. And you keep going. No matter what you do, don't stop. This is our mission. Spread Krishna consciousness. Whatever little way you can go. So many people are sitting on the sidelines of this mission. This is a very unfortunate situation. Yaśodā Prabhu, please.
Yeah, this is a very important point. This reminds me of the way that Jayananda used to preach. He always had this side bag with these Simply Wonderfuls and cookies. And he would always carry with him some cards with the Maha Mantra. In those days, the cards would read, chant Hare Krishna and your life will be sublime. And most people would be very intrigued, like, what do you mean my life will be sublime? Because in the material world, there's a lot of suffering. People are struggling. There's a lot of anxiety. And it's not just in this country, it's everywhere. I'm sure if I ask Balaram Prabhu in Turkey, if he goes anywhere in the cities, are people not struggling? I know they had a big earthquake over there, a massive earthquake. I mean, something that is 8 point something on the Richter scale, which is monumental. And all over the world, there was this news that people were dying. People were under crushed buildings. There is suffering. Everywhere there is suffering. A couple years ago in Japan, they had a big nuclear facility that experienced big problems. Many people died. Everywhere you go, there will be problems. So when you give the mantra to somebody, because we have received it from Srila Prabhupada, we give it to them. This is a chance for them to make their life sublime. And the potency is there. The potency is there. I remember when I first became a devotee in 1969, we used to go in the middle of the winter in Montreal and chant on the street. Now, I don't know if you people have been in Canada in the cities in the middle of the winter, but if you chant, you're not going to be able to have your hand exposed very long. It's very cold. So we would take turns in chanting and distributing cards and incense and these little pamphlets that I was referring to earlier, the peace formula, because it was also during the Vietnam War. So everybody was inquiring, we want peace, we want peace. But this is how you get peace. You hear from a pure devotee like Prabhupada, give them the mantra, invite them to the Sunday feast like that. Of course, nowadays, we no longer have the society structure functioning like it was intended to, but the books are there, the teachings are there, the mantra is there, and we can also try to give them some prasadam if we have some prasadam to give them. Just recently, I had the experience with one neighbor here on the hill, and this lady had some very severe personal health event. And I explained to her that if you chant Hare Krishna, this will be very beneficial for you. So she thought that the word Hare was Harry. So she wrote to me an email and tell me, thank you for the Hare Krishna chanting. And I explained to her it's Hare. So every time she sees me, she'll say Hare Krishna. Although she may not pronounce it, but she still gets the benefit. This is the power of the holy name as would receive it from Prabhupada. Everybody can get a mantra card or get out from the internet the peace formula or unchanting the Maha Mantra. In the beginning, we didn't have many books. We used to print, to mimeograph on Gestetner machines, this little 1-page unchanting the Maha Mantra, 2 pages. And it works because it's the words of a pure devotee.
Excellent.
What do you think, Vijay Pandit? Hare Krishna in Italy, Vijay Pandit. What do you think?
Put his
Canta
thumb up.
Hare Krishna, tua vida sua sublima.
Canta Hare Krishna, la tua vita sarà sublime.
Sublime.
Well, it works. Of course it works. It works on a visit card with the Maha Mantra. It works if you say them Hare Krishna. It works anyway. And works why? Because we get this information from a pure Acharya. That's why it works. We have just to transmit it and distribute it. No problem. What will come after? So
Excellent.
I also distributed in all these years, and what I get, the association of all of you. This is a big mercy. Thank you very much. I have one question.
Yes, please.
My wife made me this question many times. No, she's saying to me, "Well, they changed the books. Now I understand. But in a way or another, I became a devotee with all these changed books. I became a devotee, and well, I know what to answer her, but I think it's too early to answer her what I would like to answer her. And she's saying that in a way or another, also with this not authentic books, I became. So like Yasoda-nandana was saying before, this lady, instead to say Hare, she say Hari, but she get benefit. Or not, Yasoda-nandana, you say this, no?
Yeah. I wanted to give an answer for that if I could.
Thank you.
Yeah. In the ISKCON movement, for example, most of the Gita has been changed. I think over 50%. And so I was reading some posts about that some people are studying the Gita that they're getting from these people, and it's giving them some direction. Yes. So this is a good thing. And the fact of the matter is, it is leading them to us, the Hare Krishna Society. Because even though your wife got this book, still it is by her sincerity that she continued through your association to get a proper understanding of what Krishna consciousness is, because there is a right way and a wrong way. And currently in a lot of groups, whether they ISKCON groups or other Mayavadi groups, there is a lot of deviation in their preaching and understanding. And without that simple vision of association with a bona fide spiritual master, if it's not preached properly, then people will be misled. Period. Their activities will be minimized. So the Hare Krishna Society is the actual movement of Srila Prabhupada now. This is his movement. He is the Founder-Ācārya. We are his devoted disciples. And these other groups are deviant. So however you get here, Krishna bless you. Now we can carry on without any confusion. Without confusion. So like that, maybe Yasoda wants to comment further for a second. And then we'll go to more questions.
I think one of the best examples to answer this is in India, they have cow milk. And you can buy cow milk directly from a cow herd who will sometimes milk the cow right in front of you. Now, the reason they do that is because there are many people who basically will take the milk from the cow and mix it with buffalo milk or goat milk. Now, milk is very nutritious. Cow milk is very beneficial for the human brain, but buffalo milk is not. It's white, it's milk, it's liquid, but it has a very different effect. So when the book given by Srila Prabhupada is changed, basically disobeying his instruction, it will have a different effect. Now, I agree, people will become devotees, but I can guarantee you they will get misunderstanding. That is one of the unfortunate effects, because Prabhupada did not approve of these changes. Prabhupada never approved of 5,000 changes in the Bhagavad-gītā. As a matter of fact, there is a conversation on the 22nd of June, 1977, in Srila Prabhupada's garden called the Rascal Editor's Conversation, where the issue of changes to the Srimad Bhagavatam were being discussed. In one of the conversations, Prabhupada said the next printing again should be the original way, namely the first edition. Then Prabhupada later on in this conversation says they cannot change anything. By the word they, Srila Prabhupada was meaning all of the editors, the GBCs, the people that produced the books, edited the books, and everybody. He did not want his books to be changed. Another point is this. Somebody may argue, well, I took buffalo milk and I didn't have such a bad effect. Yes, you had some effect, some beneficial effect. Why not get the full beneficial effect by taking the original cow milk, by taking the original book? That is what Prabhupada wanted with his book. I see that Balaram Prabhu has got a question or a chastisement for me. Please go ahead, Prabhu.
He does have a question about the change of the books.
Can you hear me? I don't know if my...
Prabhu,
can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm going to read to you a post that we put up on the Prabhupada Disciples site, which will give you some insight. Hopefully I can find it. It talks about all the verses being changed. Here it is here. Is there a problem with ISKCON editing and selling changed books? Read this and you decide for yourself. The original Bhagavad-gītā was revised.
My question is different. My question is a little bit different.
Can you guide me on where the proof of the Gita being 50% changed, please?
Yeah.
Well, that's the question. The original Bhagavad-gītā was revised 100%. In the revised edition, published in 1983, 77% of 541 verses were changed out of a total of 700. In 21 verses, 3%, only the spelling, punctuation, or capitalization was changed, and the words were left intact. In 520 20 verses, 74% words were changed, removed, or changed. The word eternal was removed. So does that help?
Yeah, but no. Okay, the statement you made, and correct me if I'm wrong in misunderstanding your statement, is that the Bhagavad-gītā, 50% of the Bhagavad-gītā was changed. So if I ask you the question like this, that the Bhagavad-gītā is both word for word translation and purport. So if we calculate and add up all the words as words, let's say there's 100 words of Prabhupada, total 100 words. So are we saying that 50 of these words have been changed?
Well, like I said to you,
what I've understood so far, just lightly, is that something like in total, as far as words goes, about 3%, 5% of the Gita has changed. In the proper outlook, let's say, if we say, but to state 50% is changed when it's not.
It could be more. It could be more. We can Google it. Okay, and see,
I've got the answer here.
Okay,
Here's
go ahead.
the answer.
Please, Yaśodā.
From Krishna Kripa Dasi. How many Bhagavad-gītā As It Is verses were changed in the 1983 revised edition? Over 3/4 of them, 77%, or 531 verses were changed out of 700 total. Srila Prabhupada's 1972 Bhagavad-gītā As It Is, published by Macmillan Company, was compared with the BBT revision first published in 1983. Only the verses were examined. In 21 verses, 3% only the spelling, punctuation, or capitalization was changed, and the words were left intact. In 521 verses, 74% words were removed, rearranged, or inserted. In chapter 17, 93% of the verses were changed. See the table below for the number changed in each chapter. From chapter 1 to 18, 531 verses out of 700, 77% were changed. Now, I have an email which shows all of the changes to all the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad-gītā. I can send it to all of you if you want. It's also on our website, by the way, KrishnaConsciousnessMovement.com. If you look at the book changes section, this is explained in detail. But yes, Balaram Prabhu, you added a supplemental question.
Yeah, I still see it as not exactly the whole truth. It's a little bit misleading if we just add up the text, because Prabhupada's Bhagavad, of course, I'm completely against any changes that didn't need to happen, absolutely. but I'm also want to make sure that we all get the real full truth, that represents the full truth. So Bhagavad-gītā, Prabhupada's Bhagavad-gītā is not only the text, it's actually more made up with his purports than his text. So if we take up the whole Bhagavad-gītā and then we calculate how much of the words were changed, that would be a proper representation of how much was changed.
There are entire websites where you can find out a lot of this information, but basically in the purports, I was told that altogether, including verses and purports, there were more than 5,000 changes in the 1983 revised Bhagavad-gītā. Now, I know people in ISKCON, many of the leaders don't like to hear this. That book was not authorized. There is no record anywhere where Prabhupada said to completely revise all of these revisions. It's just not there. Like somebody just make a comment, many of these changes are political. And the foremost of these changes in Bhagavad-gītā, chapter 4, text 34, they changed the text from "he has seen the truth" to "they have seen the truth." Now, Srila Prabhupada purposely changed that, "he has seen the truth." There was a devotee in New York named Kapindra Swami. For those of you who may have known him, he departed 1 or 2 years ago. Very exemplary devotee, a sannyasi. He used to go on Samkirtan every day. He pointed out to a devotee, a very close friend, that if you look at the index of the 1983 Bhagavad-gītā and the index of the 1972 original unchanged Bhagavad-gītā, there's a big difference. What they did in the 1983 Bhagavad-gītā, when it comes to the word spiritual master, they deleted or omitted many of the references. Why? There is no credible answer that I have heard from that. Prabhupada never gave the instruction to change that. The cover of the Bhagavad-gītā was changed. The index was changed. Everything was changed. So in other words, there is a lot of technical points here that Prabhupada did not want his books to be changed. Now, if somebody wants to argue that in Sanskrit, the word upadikshanti refers to plural, yeah, it refers to plural, but Prabhupada, the authority, chose to translate that word as "he has seen the truth," and we have to respect that. This is very similar to what has been done in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Adi Lila, where Prabhupada explains the relationship between the spiritual masters and our disciplic succession. And I know that this tends to become political because the way it was explained by various people at the BBT to Dira Govinda Prabhu in Florida, well, that we changed the words of Srila Prabhupada to conform this to our understanding of initiation in ISKCON. And I was thinking, well, this is ridiculous. You cannot change the words of the Acharya for political convenience. It doesn't work that way. Now, somebody may think, well, I've gotten some benefit from that book, just like Prabhupada said one time with regards to devotees that were chanting and surfing, but not really following properly. Prabhupada said, if you take sandalwood and do it a certain way, because it's sandalwood, you get some benefit, but there's a proper way to do it. Like the example of the conversation with Srila Prabhupada and Alice Coltrane. It was brought to Srila Prabhupada's attention that Alice Coltrane, a very famous American musician, had taken up the chanting of Hare Krishna in one of her records. Prabhupada said, that is nice, but she should be instructed to follow the proper process. Otherwise, it will deteriorate. It will become sahajiya. And this is the problem with changing the books. Not only is it disrespectful to the Acharya, it changes the teachings. Eventually, it waters down the whole process. Now, it may be done under the plea of grammatical correctness. I can understand. People say, well, we're trying to correct the misspellings, the capitalization, and then the floodgates are open. They go to the grammar and everything gets changed. So it is a problem.
Fincott, I see you have a question here.
It's not related to book changes though, but
that's fine. Please.
Okay. I was just reading this one letter to all temple presidents in 1977. Yes. Srila Prabhupada wrote this letter. that I am sure I think it's a famous letter now, but you must arrange in each temple, there must be sufficient stock of prasadam for distribution. You can keep first-class cooks, 2 or 3, and they should always be engaged. Whenever any guest comes, he must get prasad. This arrangement must be made that the cooks prepare 10, 20 servings at a time of puris and sabji, and you can add halwa and pakoras, and the visitors must be supplied immediately. Whenever a gentleman comes, he must be served. As the 20 servings are being distributed, immediately the cooks prepare another 20 servings and store it. At the end of the day, if no one comes, our own men will take it, so there's no loss. You cannot say, it is finished, it is not cooked yet, there's no supply for cooking, etc. This must be enforced rigidly. The temple is managed by Srimati Radharani, Lakshmi ji, so why should there be want? Our philosophy is, if anyone comes, let him take prasad, chant Hare Krishna, and be happy. Everything is being supplied by Krishna. Krishna is not poor, so why should we deny them? This should be done at any cost. There is no difficulty. It simply requires nice management. At the end of the day, you may sell or give away. If we believe that Krishna is providing and maintaining everyone, then why should we be misers? This means losing faith in Krishna and thinking that we are the doers and suppliers. We're confident Krishna will supply. Let the whole world come and we can feed them. So please do this nicely. Begin at once. So this was to all temple presidents in 1977, January. And my question is, I'm not sure if they're doing it, temples are doing, but my question is, how did Srila Prabhupada also want restaurants to go on in the temples?
Yes.
In conjunction with this program?
He wanted both. Prasadam distribution. I opened, when I was the president, we opened two restaurants in Toronto. One in Yorkville, you're familiar, and we stayed there for some time. And then we switched it to Avenue Road. So what happened was we were renting a building on Webster Street, which is when you go up Avenue Road, you come to Webster and then you get up to what's called DuPont. Okay, so the temple's on DuPont and Webster is in Yorkville. So as you come up Avenue Road, we had both signs, Hare Krishna. Huge sign. I've got the picture. I wish we could show it to you, all of you. It's a beautiful picture of Hare Krishna. So in this way, people would drive up the road and they would chant Hare Krishna and then come to the temple, Hare Krishna. We had 30,000 cars a day passing there. It was even greater. And we opened a restaurant. Prabhupada said, yes, it should be called the Hare Krishna restaurant. He wanted that name, not Govinda's, just so you know. And he suggested that we offer the prasadam for one price, all you can eat. So if we get a chance, we can look at that letter sometime.
My question is, if the prasadam is being offered for free, puri, sabji, halwa, pakora, so many things, then who will pay and eat in the restaurant?
Well, the idea is, to distribute prasadam. I mean, there are different ways to do it. And, for us, I mean, people are quite willing to give a donation. So whatever the personal strategy that you have, say you want to do a restaurant in Bangalore yourself, or in Toronto, hopefully someday with us, you have to figure it out intelligently how to do this, use your intelligence, because there's all kinds of expenses and demand on these types of programs. But overall, we are called what? What is the name of it? We're called the kitchen religion, Vinkat. The kitchen religion. I have a soup line I'm trying to release across Canada with prasadam, and it explains about prasadam on the can. So think of different ways of doing these programs in your own areas. And distributing prasadam like Jayananda did, whether you give them out free or you do festival programs where you give out free prasadam, or you go open a restaurant. Now, Prabhupada wanted us, everyone, not just to do the restaurant, but have also, he directed me in the letter that you should have a library of his books so that people could come in, have the prasadam, and then there would be books available that they could take with them, and they could also study while they're there, because people like to go to restaurant, read books, have prasadam like that. Create a nice atmosphere for them to stimulate their spiritual life, stimulate it, and help us. The main thing is to be a missionary, help these people become Krishna conscious. We had some other comments here from Joe Felice. Vinkai, could you maybe read his comment?
Isn't it the energy of the words that's important? That means that Prabhupada's intent can only be felt or heard by his original works. If there is changes, then the intent is not pure.
Okay, and then here we have Ram Raghava, another comment.
Yeah, two comments. So one is, how potent are the words of the Acharya Srila Prabhupada? The intense desire to benedict the people of the world with Krishna's mercy is so palpable in that letter. Yeah.
Excellent. And further?
The menu in the restaurant could have much more than the puri, sabji, halwa, etc. Yeah, that makes sense.
Ram Raghava, please, if you could comment. I hope he's there.
Hare Krishna. Yes, I pretty much said what I was going to say with the comments that I made.
Anything further on the? Yeah, absolutely. Variety, delicious. I've been cooking dal for 53 years. My friend Vishnu Dutt reminded me back in 1971. So over the years, I've worked on the recipe. Just like I see you're always eager cooking Ram Raghava, the doctor of the kitchen as well. And, we offer the food. I have my deities at Drupada Prabhu, the former head pujari of Krishna Balaram Mandir in India. He told me how to handle he guides me as my head pujari. So he'll come over, examine the altar. He provides all different deity. Whatever he brings to me, I listen to him. And he's directed me how to offer my prasadam properly. And then I make a program here locally for now until I get a restaurant going and a book reading room. That's one of my desires. I pray to Krishna. Man proposes, God disposes. To how to offer the food. And then I always make an effort every day to distribute the dal and rice that I do make to as many people as possible. So even in a small way, it's some way. Small way, but some way. No effort, no result. If we don't do anything, we'll get no result. And this is the most important thing for us as devotees, is to constantly pray to Krishna to give us the mercy of his service. We have Balaram again with another question. Prabhu, I wanted to say something before you go ahead.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
This question about this changes. If there's just one change, it's just like cooking rice. How do you tell if the rice is cooked, brother?
Let's forget it. Let's just leave it.
How do you tell?
Prabhuji, forget it.
No, I'm just asking. Hey, give me the answer.
You kind of don't want to accept the question, and you don't want to accept the real answer. The real question was only about nothing else, just about, is the Bhagavad-gītā, that is the whole Bhagavad-gītā, text, don't bring it up, the whole text and the whole purport, 50% changed. So we shouldn't say that if it's not. If it's 5% change, we should say 5%.
It's more. I said more, brother.
77%.
I forget that. How much? 77%.
That's not true. That's not
77%.
No, one second. There's different ways of analyzing changes. One is one way which you are proposing, Balram Prabhu, which
that is the Gita.
Doesn't make any sense. Is to just
Bhagavad-gītā
count
is not the text.
One second.
Balaram, stop talking.
Yeah, please
stop talking.
You've asked the question. We understand the question.
Stop talking, Balaram. Stop talking. Let him speak. I'm conducting the meeting. I'm asking you to keep quiet. Go ahead,
He's
Venkat.
on mute. No, my
Thank
question,
you.
my answer is, we understand his question, or we understand the point he's trying to make. He's saying you count the total number of words in the Bhagavad-gītā, and then what words are changed, and you divide, what words are, let's say, total number of words are like, 50,000 words or something. And let's say out of that, 2,000 words are changed. So, it's only, what is that, 4% change? Is that really a smart thing to do? No, that's not smart at all. No.
It's the truth. I'm not interested in smart or not smart. We're going to represent the truth.
You can think of DNA. All right, DNA has.
It doesn't matter. Look.
Okay. Anyway, you don't want to hear the answer, so it's fine.
What you
That's
just
fine.
explained was correct.
I'm just going to mute you. I'm sorry, but you're being disruptive.
Sorry about that.
Right,
we do want to change. Sometimes we move into these topics. They don't really represent what the class was about or intentions. And we do get complaints from other people about the fact that we go on into different areas. Last time we had this talk, just so you know, Balram, we had 15 complaints about your comment from other members of this group in writing to us. 15. So I would say this, Prabhu, take it as a sort of a humble suggestion. Customize your questions so they become more conducive for positive discussion. Here we, okay. Thank you. All right, so we'll move forward. If there's any last questions, we also going to come up with a time limit, Ram Raghava, of 2 hours. We had a discussion at our media meeting, and we felt that sometimes these dialogues would go on and maybe disturb the general mood of the group. So we have like 31 people on the talk here this morning, and not everybody's interested. Ram Raghava, your hands up, please.
Hare Krishna. So I'd like to give something positive. I'd like to share something positive with the audience regarding the point about thinking of Krishna at the time of death. Now, a few verses later in this same chapter, Krishna says, "Yang yang vapi swaran bhavam tejatente kalevaram tang tam eveti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitaha," which translates as, whatever you think of at the time of death, whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. So there was, and in this purport that we read today, Maharaj Kulashekar, Prabhupada says, Maharaj Kulashekar fears that at the moment of death, his throat will be so choked up that he will not be able to chant the holy names. So it is better to die immediately. Arjuna questions how one's mind can remain fixed on Krishna's lotus feet at such times. Now I was listening to one of Prabhupada's morning walks, and there's a morning walk in 1976 in Mayapur. I have a feeling that Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu was probably there also. But a devotee asked that, at the time of death, it's such a difficult time that our bodily functions aren't functioning properly. So how will we think of Krishna at the time of death? And Prabhupada's reply in that morning walk was that generally devotees will be able to remember, because of their service, they will be able to remember Krishna at the time of death. But even if they don't remember, and I found this really wonderful how Prabhupada said, Krishna will remember. So Krishna will remember what service that devotee did, and then Krishna will take care of that devotee. So I thought that was such a compassionate thing to behold, to think about how Krishna is so compassionate that he remembers whatever service we did, even if we have difficulty at the time of death. So I just wanted to say that.
Perfect. And I think that that's very profound, especially coming from you as a doctor. You do get a lot of experience with people moving forward from one body to the next. I mean, that's just the way it is. And these directions that we're getting from the scriptures are very profound and very important for us to focus on, especially from the readings today that were so beautiful in the class, and the understandings that we're getting from our Bhagavatam classes, Gita classes, etc. This is our prime focus. Joe Felice has a comment. Vincott, what is that?
Yes, I have been there. So this is about thinking about Krishna, I guess, in difficulties.
Yeah.
I've been there. When you practice it, automatically happens. You will think of him.
Well, I can explain this. Joe had been fairly health challenged over the years, and he has he had a kidney replaced, and I went to the hospital. I recall that, Joe. I went to the hospital, and he was near death. And this was some years ago when I went to visit him and to give association at the last moments. And what happened was that he almost died. And he told me that he came to the point of thinking of Krishna at that most severe moment. So this is the mercy of Krishna. I also have another situation I wanted to relate to you. I'm preaching to a fellow here at the ashram. His name is Walter. Now, Walter is a person that is, had a journey of difficulty in his life and a trouble in focusing. So he's shown some sincerity. So he goes, I need the Coles book of notes on what to do Vishwakarma at the time of death. Because he's not a person that's committed to the process of bhakti yoga, but he's trying. So I told him this, do this, and I believe that he'll do this. I said to him, when you're ready to die, remember one thing. Krishna, hold my hand. He went, okay, I will do that. When I'm prepared to die, I'll call out, just like in the case of Ajamil, where Ajamil called out to his son Narayan. And then the Vishnu Dutas and the Yama Dutas came and they had that debate, what we should do. And it was decided that because he remembered Narayan at the time of death, he was able to get liberation from this bondage of birth and death. I'm actually working on that script that I have on my website, that movie that I've written adapted from the Bhagavatam of Srila Prabhupada called The Salvation of Adam. So I'm working on that locally here with our preaching people. So this is the idea. Think whatever way means you can bring people to this remembrance of Krishna at the time of death, do that. Vinkat Prabhu, yes, please.
Yes, there's a question on YouTube by a devotee.
Okay,
And,
please.
he says, thank you very much, dear devotees. My humble obeisances to all of you. My name is Nitai Bhavana Das. I'm from Ukraine, Zaporozhye. I accept Srila Prabhupada as spiritual master, but this name I accepted from Indradyumna Swami. Should I reject this name and get a new one by Ritvik initiation?
Yes, just do it. Go through the process. With our group, we have an initiation process, and you can investigate what it is and go through that system, and we would be very happy to provide that service to you in due course, all things being equal. So the answer is yes, absolutely. Someone else, Balaram? Or Vinkat Prabhu? We have Karan.
Yeah,
He has a question. We're going to finish up soon, everyone, just so you know. Go ahead.
I sometimes get jealous and anger towards other devotees for no reason and even commit aparadh towards them in mind. How can I stop this and be genuinely humble?
How could get jealous and angry towards other devotees? Well, I'll just give a simple answer. Just keep chanting and try to keep focused on the process of Krishna consciousness. Then automatically these feelings, emotions will leave you. So you have to practice more, Prabhu. Become more focused on what we're doing daily. It's a daily process here that you have to commit to. And this will mitigate this problem of anger and jealousy. It's not a good thing to be in. Gopal, kids, to everyone. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, everyone. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
I believe
Yes,
that is
Yashoda.
that is Gauranga Sundar Prabhu, who you spoke to yesterday.
Okay. Thank you, Gauranga Prabhu. Very enlivened with our conversation yesterday. Very inspired to get your association, and we look forward to working with you moving into the future. Yasoda-nandana Prabhu, maybe you can finish up the class for us.
Yeah, there was a conversation in the Prabhupada Conversation book where somebody was asking Srila Prabhupada about how to get rid of envy. And Prabhupada's answer says, do not become envious of your spiritual master. Now, Prabhupada has given a process of bhakti. And one of the basic fundamental principles we're taught is not to be critical of the Acharya, not to find fault with the Acharya, and not to be envious of the Acharya. And this comes from the Bhagavatam itself, where Lord Krishna in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, in a section of the Bhagavatam called Uddhava-gītā, where Lord Krishna is instructing Uddhava, Acharya mam vijaniyan na avamanena karichit, namartya buddhya suyeta, never think that the Acharya is an ordinary human being. Srila Prabhupada used to often quote from the Padma Purana that Guru Shu Naramati Yasyave Narakisa, if one thinks that a spiritual master is an ordinary man, then he's a fit candidate for a hellish position. There is also numerous statements by Srila Prabhupada in his books and conversations that the position of the Acharya, you should not think that he is mistaken. One time the devotees were discussing whether or not the spiritual master knows everything and whether or not the spiritual master makes mistakes. And there was one line in the conversation where Prabhupada says, if you think that your spiritual master is mistaken, you are mistaken. So the basic fundamental principle of the position of the Acharya is very important. But if somebody starts to think that the Acharya can make mistakes, is subject to the defects of an ordinary man, or did not understand modern science or modern thinking, or that his thinking is not according to the norms of academic scientific community, this is not what the Acharya is all about. The Acharya delivers the message of Krishna, delivers the process of bhakti to become a devotee of Krishna, and the business of the follower or students or disciple is to follow the instruction, not whether the Acharya can repair the engine on the 1957 Chevy truck or something. That is not. And also, regards to modern social issues, Prabhupada delivers Vedic knowledge. For example, about marriage, about relationship between men and women, about science, about how the creation was done, how the material world was created, about the proper relationship. So this is a very, very important that we understand things properly. Just like in the Shastra, there's reference that sannyasis should never be alone with a woman. And somebody who sent me a picture, there was Prabhupada in Golden Gate Park in San Francisco. He's walking alone with Yamuna Devi Dasi. Are we supposed to consider the Acharya deviated? I gave that example that in Vrindavan in 1975, during the opening of the Krishna Balaram temple, there is a Prabhupada is doing the artik and he's wearing a shirt, a kurta. This is sewn cloth. But you're going to find in the Shastra, even in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a reference in one purport that if somebody does puja with a sewn cloth, he'll take his birth as a leper 7 times. Are we to consider that Prabhupada, the pure devotee, is going to be a leper in 7 births? I mean, there are ridiculous interpretations that I've seen. And the point is, let's not forget, most people in the West have been indoctrinated and victimized by so-called scientific propaganda, modern materialistic propaganda, and we have to look at Srila Prabhupada and his teachings. This is from the spiritual world. Golokera Premadana Harinama Samkirtana. The chanting of Hare Krishna is from the spiritual world, and it comes down to this sacred line of these pure, perfect, liberated souls. And if somebody in his polluted condition of soul mentality wants to find fault with the Acharya, they're in big trouble. Big trouble. So, that is just a few remarks here.
Okay, we're going to, we were discussing about ending our class and discussion with a 2-hour limit. So we do have some questions that have been posted. We will bring them up tomorrow and hopefully answer them. I just wanted to mention, first of all, that we will be expanding our programs to include classes for new devotees. So we want to be clear, these particular classes, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad-gītā, and Chaitanya Charitamrita, and the introduction of the Nectar of Devotion, either this week or next week, will be classes for people that are already in the process of devotional service, of bhakti yoga practicing. So sometimes these classes become more detailed in terms of other issues that people are not familiar with. And sometimes it becomes discouraging for these new people to hear these questions and answers among us, because they're wondering, why are they talking about this when we're just talking about Krishna and Bhagavatam? So we're going to shape the channel with new programming, which will be specifically directed towards new bhaktas. So just so you know that. And these particular classes are for us who have been in this process for many, many years and have important questions and answers they want to get, like we talked today about questions and answers in our class. And these questions and answers do come up, and they'll be more of the open forum of this particular class. This is for new people that are coming to class. We apologize if you get upset with some of the questions and answers that do come out, but remember, this was a format specifically for what I just explained. So thank you, everyone. Tomorrow morning, we'll have the Bhagavatam class at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in Canada. If you have any suggestions or further comments for us in helping us to make these programs better for all of us in terms of our Krishna consciousness, please be in touch with our group. If you hopefully you have the information of how to reach us, and in this way we can constantly work towards improving what we're doing with your help. So Vinkat, please, let's go ahead with the chanting of Hare Krishna by our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. Chant along, everyone, and all glories to the Sankirtan mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha
Ascha
kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thanks everybody for participating, and we'll have more very interesting discussion tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
All glory to the
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.